Well, welcome to the final episode of BA Conference Europe Extra. Believe it or not, it's now the 8th episode of this 2-day conference. And as a reminder, BA Conference Europe Extra, it's the informal bits that are sort of wrapped around the conference in the breaks. But even though it's informal, we've had some fantastic conversations with some inspirational practitioners. And of course, this episode will be no different. We've got some really interesting content in this session for you. We're going to be talking a little bit in just a few minutes with Mark Cross, who's going to be talking about analysis on the spectrum. But we've also got, after that, we've got some behind the scenes footage. So if you're interested in how BA Conference Europe Extra is made, you might want to stay tuned for that as well. Before we skip to the main content though, another thing that's been a common thread throughout these episodes is the social media engagement. And I'm sure many of you are, well, I know many of you are engaging with social media using the hashtag BA2020. Personally, I tend to look on LinkedIn and Twitter. I don't know if there's stuff on Instagram and other social media networks as well. There probably is. And there's lots of stuff happening out there. So do go and connect with others. It's a great way of staying in touch beyond and between conferences as well. Don't forget that there's actually a little bit of a self-serving reason to get tweeting and get sharing on LinkedIn as well, because there is a competition. And all you need to do to win the chance of winning a 2-day ticket for the BA Conference Europe 2021 is get active on social media. You might want to post a picture of yourself watching one of the sessions. Quite a few people are doing that on LinkedIn and on Twitter. You might want to share your biggest takeaway. You might want to, if you hear a repeatable quote, a quotable quote, tweet it or mention it on LinkedIn. Every time you do that with the BA 2020 hashtag, you're in with the chance of winning. One lucky winner will win a 2-day ticket to the BA Conference Extra 2021. So that competition will run right until the conference closes. So even though this is the last episode of BA Conference Europe Extra, the competition runs right until the conference closes. It'll be drawn shortly after that, and we'll be in touch with the winner within a day or so. So you'll find out very, very soon if you are the lucky winner. So that brings us on to our final guest of the BA Conference Europe Extra. He spoke yesterday on a really important topic, and one that I certainly know I need to know more about and I need to learn more about. Mark Cross is Principal Business Analyst at Envista Consulting, and his presentation was entitled Analysis on the Spectrum, an epic journey of transformation in neurodiversity. Mark, thank you very much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for inviting me.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, Mark, your session was entitled Analysis on the Spectrum. Some of our viewers might not be familiar with that term. Are you able to let us know what it means and why it's important to you?
Well, this condition's been known by many names. So, autism or Asperger's syndrome. These days, we generally just refer to it as being on the autistic spectrum. The other terms don't really capture the reality that it doesn't manifest in the same way for everybody. There are about 700,000 people in the UK who are on the spectrum, and some of these people experience it in such subtle ways that they may not even be aware that they have it, whereas for others it's quite pronounced. Most people fall somewhere in between, where just some tasks are just a little bit more difficult for us than they would be for somebody with a neurotypical mind.
Yeah, and one thing I really took from the slides in your session, I unfortunately wasn't able to attend your session live. I will catch up with the recording, but I looked at the slides beforehand, and a couple of things really took me or really struck me. One was you made an analogy about how perhaps neurotypical people who are now forced into a virtual working environment, so can't pick up some of the subtle cues, might be having an experience that is similar to how people who are on the spectrum experience life every day. Is that one of the analogies you were making in your presentation?
Yes, it really is. A lot of the times, when I'm trying to explain this to somebody, what I have to say is, for example, it's a little bit like color blindness. This for people like me, this is the only reality we've ever known. The way that our brain processes the world around us, there are certain layers of nuance that we might not be able to pick up on that other people can. So when you look at the virtual environment, when you look at the fact that rather than actually being in the room with somebody and being able to sort of pick up all of the background cues, perhaps some of the details in the intonation or expressions, it kind of sort of like levels the playing field a little bit. So for me, I often find it easier while doing things virtually than actually doing it within a room where there are quite a few people.
That's really interesting, Mark. And I mean, another thing I picked up from your slides, I thought it was a really powerful visual metaphor which really resonated with me, was you were describing parsing a sentence. So the fact that actually if you lay a sentence out, how you parse it really can change the meaning quite significantly. And so I'm guessing that if you're having to go through that consciously to work out what somebody means, it must be quite must take quite a lot of effort, I'd imagine.
Yes, it can do. When you're working with people who are on the autistic spectrum, it's really important that you're very careful about language, avoid being too ambiguous in the way that you frame things, because a lot of the time when a neurotypical person goes through the world, that they've hardwired a lot of this intuition, what we might call common sense. So they feel quite secure in making various assumptions in the way that they process language. For somebody like me, that's not necessarily hardwired. So I'm thinking about it more, and it applies an extra layer of cognitive burden in the things that I'm doing.
Interesting. So are you able to share some of the particular challenges you faced as in the BA role, Mark?
Well, I think the main challenge is like I just said, when you're dealing with a big room full of people with lots of conversations happening at the moment, and you're constantly trying to evaluate every single person individually, that can be really difficult. So for somebody like myself, you need to do a lot of preparation ahead of time, understand the people, what their agendas are, and so you take a lot of the uncertainty away. Any uncertainty that you can remove from that moment gives you more freedom to be able to concentrate at that moment and what's going on. Also, conducting interviews rather than big workshops, also a really helpful technique.
Interesting. So preparation and the one-on-one interviews. So, okay. So the other thing that strikes me as we're talking, Mark, is that as BAs, all of us are involved with designing processes and services that need to be used and accessible to a whole variety of diverse folks, really, people that are out there. So, I mean, when we're talking about neurodiversity, what can we do as BAs to ensure that the processes and services we design are as accessible to everyone as possible?
I think there's 2 points that I'd make here. So the first one, obviously, is if you're developing something, just because it makes sense and is clear and easy to use to you, does not necessarily mean that it would be clear and easy to use for other people. So definitely run it past other people, so just to see how they'd explore it, how they'd use it, see if there's any of those ambiguities I was talking about earlier. And also in terms of the way the information is presented, the way which I process information I don't generally process it in a linear fashion. It's much more structured and about relationships. So if you present great big blobs of text to me, it can sometimes take a little while for me to actually pass that and work out the key points. So whenever you can either provide a structure or a visual representation, that is really, really helpful.
Yeah, and as we were talking there, Mark, I was thinking that maybe there's an argument that says actually as BAs, or even if we're designing services or whatever, actually providing information in a variety of formats, accepting that there are a variety of different folks consuming it, so maybe a pictorial view, a diagrammatic view, a text view, so that people can choose the right view for them. Do you think that's an idea that's a sensible one?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, so having rather than presenting information in just one way, presenting it in perhaps text and as a diagram, so different.
Absolutely. It's not necessary to reinvent the wheel. I think that's a good design practice in general, because whereas something might you can't say that one method will be able to work for everybody, but if you do try several different approaches, people who don't get one might get the other, and that's a really good way of being able to try and clear up the issues for a very wide range of people.
Yeah, absolutely. So thinking about diversity in general as well. So fantastic. So without giving too much away from your session, because I'm sure even people that didn't watch it live will want to go and watch the recording, but without giving too much away, are you able to share maybe a key takeaway which people will take away from watching your session?
Sure. Well, in my talk, I go over three main points when I'm exploring the ways in which we process information differently. So firstly, it's learning. Secondly, it's how we deal with stress. And thirdly, it's how we manage social cues. But the most important thing, which I think I'd like to communicate, is the fact that this is not a disadvantage, it's not a disability, it's just a different way of processing things. In a lot of ways, the way my brain works allows me to work as a business analyst really, really well and process information in very detailed ways, and that's something I'm very grateful for. And organizations like Microsoft have special programs for recruiting people like myself, because we are a huge resource that is often underused in the marketplace. So I think that's probably the main message which I like to communicate.
Fantastic, yeah, and again, I suppose it highlights the importance of diversity and inclusion in organisations, to make sure that talent pipeline is there, that people are being recruited, and also that the conditions are conducive to them being the best that they can whilst they're at work. So fantastic. Well, Mark, I am sure that people will want to stay in touch with you, will want to follow you. How is the best way for people to stay in touch, Mark?
I'd suggest just drop me a line on LinkedIn. You can find me there at www.linkedin.com/in/Mark Cross.
Fantastic. Well, Mark, thank you so much for taking time out to have a conversation with us today. Really, really interesting and important topic. Enjoy the rest of the conference and hope to see you soon.
Great. Thank you very much, and thanks, Adrian.
Thanks. Bye. Fantastic. Well, a really, really interesting topic there, and one that I must admit, until I spoke to Mark and until I saw Mark's topic, it's one that I'm sort of embarrassed to say I didn't know enough about. I still don't know enough about, but at least now I know it's a blind spot. So I will absolutely be catching up with Mark's presentation when it's available. The recording, and I'll be doing some research as well. And perhaps if it's a particular topic that you're not familiar with, you might be making a note now to become familiar with it, because of course diversity and inclusion in all their guises are so very, very important, and we have an ethical imperative as BAs to ensure that our services and processes work for the folks that actually need to use them and access them. So we now move to the, for me, terrifying part of the show, We're going to give you a little bit of a backstage glimpse of what it's like to produce and prepare and present a show like this. And the next bit of my cue card is blank because my producer said I've got a surprise for you. So, this is going to be terrifying. But all I was asked to say is, if you want to get some sense of what it is producing a show like this, where you can take a look at this. So I'm now going to look at the monitor, and I'm as surprised as you are, viewer. BA Conference Europe Extra, Synchronization, Technical and Rehearsal, Take 1. Well, hello and welcome to the BA Conference Europe Extra. BA Conference Europe Extra, Tech Test, Synchronization and Rehearsal, Take 3. BA Conference Europe Extra, Technical Test, what else are we doing, Matt? Sync Test.
Sync test.
BA Conference Europe Technical Test, Sync Test and Rehearsal, Take 17. Well, hello and... Okay, you ready for a take, Matt?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Get over and done with.
Okay, BA Conference Europe Extra, Technical Test, Sync Test, Take 27. Oh, my age. Okay, Conference BA Extra BA Conference Tech Test 20.
It'll do.
Hi, my that is a bit there. BA Conference Europe Extra, take 3,003 million and something. Well, hello and a very warm welcome to the BA Conference Europe Extra. My name is Adrian Reed.
Yeah, good. Go again.
Go again? Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't do anything wrong.
I just need to check.
Okay. Honestly, viewer, the thing they don't tell you is that even when you don't make a mistake, someone in the gallery will make a mistake. You think you've got a perfect take, and you find that the lights are wrong or the chroma key's wrong. I'll be in my Winnebago if anyone needs me, viewer. BA Conference Europe Extra, Technical and Sync Test, take 32.
Do you want... Sorry, go on. Continue. No, it's fine. Continue.
Well, a very warm welcome to the BA Conference Europe Extra. My name is Adrian Reed. Ha ha ha, very, very funny. I'm smiling at my producer now. I didn't realise it was going to be an outtake roll from our rehearsals. I should point out, viewer, we are live, but as you can see from that outtake roll, there was quite a lot of work to get live. Oh gosh, honestly, viewer, what a way to end a career. 10 years ago, I was nominated for BA of the Year. Now I'm here under studio lights, watching outtakes of me with a clapperboard. And it's fantastic. I hope you found that as fun as we did. I'm sorry, I'm almost losing it now. I genuinely didn't know what that video was going to be. So we also wanted to show you... what the titles sequence almost was like. So if you've been watching these live streams, you will have seen this title sequence 15 times already. But what I want to do is briefly show you the title sequence that you will have seen many times before, which I think is awesome. The designer did a fantastic job, really captured the essence of these live streams. But then I'm going to show you what it was nearly like, the first draft. So what I'm going to show you now is the actual titles, about 20 seconds worth. Then I'll show you what the titles would have been like. So here we'll play you the titles. Now, I really like those titles. I have to say I love the music. It kind of, like, when I first saw them, it kind of gave me goosebumps, if you know what I mean, because it's a project that was coming to a real head. But when I was writing the brief for the designer, what I said I wanted was a title sequence that sort of, it was a little bit Richard and Judy, for those of you that remember Richard and Judy, a bit chat show, a bit one show, but with a little bit of a QVC feel, because that's sort of, to some extent, that's the kind of ethos we wanted with BA Conference Europe Extra. Is, yeah, it's serious, it's got a purpose, but it's got a little bit of fun, a little bit of chaos thrown into the side. And the first prototype that came through was this next one. I'll show it to you. You'll probably realise why we had to dial down the Richard and Judy element. So here's the first draft. So I think there's no doubt that is a technically fantastic title sequence for a different type of live stream show. As I say, we had to dial down the sort of one show-esque about it. And I hope you agree that the title sequence we came up with was actually the better of the two. That really does bring us to the very end of the final show of this year's BA Conference Europe Extra. A massive thank you to everyone who has tuned in live, whether you're at the conference or not. Do remember, the YouTube links will also, there'll be recordings about 5 minutes after the thing is broadcast. There's a recording that's available. If there are folks who aren't at the conference and you want to share a little bit of insight with them, well, why not send them the YouTube links? They can access those whenever they like. I'd also like to say a massive thank you to IRM, the founding associations and the committee, who have made a virtual conference work in what can only be described as difficult circumstances. I'm sure we were all learning as we go along, and I think every one of us would agree that the conference has been absolutely fantastic. Fantastic speakers as well, of course. I'd also like to say a massive thank you to the team and everyone involved who has made these live streams happen. Although you don't see it, viewer, there's a lot of technical chaos that happens from time to time. You may have noticed the occasional tiny technical blip, but you won't necessarily have noticed all of the mini crises which happen inevitably in the background. So a massive thank you to Matt and everyone else who's been involved with the productions. And of course, finally, last but by no means least, a massive thank you to all of the speakers who have appeared live or who have prepared pre-prepared video, easy for you to say, pre-prepared video sequences for the BA Conference Europe Extra. So I will still be around at the conference. You can catch up with me on social media. So my social media details will be appearing on the screen at some point soon. And do stay in touch. I would love to stay in touch. I will also be hanging around in the Blackmetric booth, so you can come and have a chat with me there. But enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you so much for viewing, and I hope to catch up with you at another event sometime soon. Bye from all of us.